We are big on mentorship. We're big in having a learning environment. I think that it's really hard, like I just said, to find those learning environments. And I think that trying our best to create the best example of, internal promotion and making sure people are constantly learning.
Hi, my name is Senka Caro, and I'm founder of LightNet. And my passion and mission in this world is to help people do impossible things. We are sitting down today with Chef Nick Marchesano, who is executive chef at the Gasparilla Inn, a very famous hotel in Florida. And he got his start early on. He said that the thing that he loved most, again, following his passion, was the holidays every year because he would watch his dad get together and cook for days and days on end, and the whole family would come. And this was his favorite time of the year. And he said that he liked cars and he liked cooking, but he decided to take this road. And his consistency over the years has brought him all around the world studying the culinary arts in Europe, all around the world, and he ended up becoming the touring chef for Ed Sheeran and meeting his wife there backstage in Eastern Europe. So he's here now to share his wisdom with us today.
I cook. And I have been cooking now for 16 years in total. When I was younger, my family is primarily Italian, and we grew up, with grandma and dad cooking in the house a lot. And with that also, my father was involved in like the parish men's club that was associated with the elementary school that I went to. And there was a small community of other Italians where they did, the crab feast, and they also did a spaghetti dinner. And I think that all of those large moments where everybody was together and it was like a very holiday-esque type thing. It was always surrounded around food, and it was a lot of people that didn't cook for a living. My dad didn't cook for a living. Some of the other people were like police officers and lawyers and doctors and whoever, but when it came to cooking, they all decided that they were going to do this for about a week straight leading up to an event, So a lot of guys that had no business being in the kitchen that did this twice or three times a year to raise money for the church. But it was more or less like that group of people and the gathering and everything, where when I think back, all the most fun times of the year and the times of the year that I look forward to was like the same excitement that surrounded Christmas or, any other holiday. It was more of those times of the year where it seemed like it was most exciting. That and my dad just cooked a lot at home. My grandma cooked a lot at home. So it was a really natural thing when I was like, oh man, I have to figure out what I'm going to do. And it was like I could go work on cars because I really like some automotive stuff, or it was go cook, and I decided to go cook. So I started washing dishes pretty young in DC, and then I also did a good amount of Capitol Hill catering stuff before I went to college. And it was for a small company called Taste, and the chef, Jennifer, had contracts to a couple of like the law firms who would have their Christmas parties and a couple of the congressmen's events and things like that. And so driving around Capitol Hill and just kind of like catering here and there and figuring it out. Yeah. And then after that, it was more, I went to Johnston, Wales in North Carolina, and I was there in Charlotte, North Carolina for about 6 years. I worked at Charlotte Country Club for a bit, and then I worked at I helped open a barbecue restaurant downtown. After that, I did move to Charleston, South Carolina, and I was there for another 4 years and started on Kiowa Island, and then started opening a hotel downtown called the Dewberry. That was in the center of downtown Charleston. And then from there, a couple other things. I worked the Masters tournament for 12 years. I ended up luckily getting a job as a personal chef for musicians on tour. I was with Ed Sheeran for the Divide World Tour, so it was Europe, then the United States, and then Europe again. And then after that, I was at the Broadmoor for 3 years, And then after that, I came here to the Gasparilla Inn. It's very hard. What most people don't realize is like it's not just cooking. It's a lot of making sure you know how to like pack a truck and find a forklift driver, and traveling and constantly being out of your element and sourcing ingredients in places where you wouldn't normally. It's very easy to get stuff here, right? You call your purveyor and they deliver it to your back dock. But even in other parts of the United States, you have to go find some of these things, and it's kind of tough. It's a lot harder than what people would imagine it being. Obviously, the larger the show, the more people involved. So, it's still 200, 300 people that need to be fed, that build a stage and do all the lighting and build make the event what it is. It takes a lot of people to get it done. There's all of like the paradigms of being a chef, right? There's not really like a work-life balance, and there's all of those things. I think mostly for me, it's trying to find the right people to surround yourself with, and immediately that you're not in that space, right? So I spent a lot of time trying to research and find out whose like quality barometer pointed true north. And I think that I did a good job trying to follow those people around. But there's a lot of situations that you end up in, you're like, it's not easy to kind of pick up and go and do something else just because you're in the wrong kind of environment at that point in time. So it's always that chase. It's always that like, hey, like maybe this isn't right. I have to go find and work for somebody that does understand what is like right and wrong, and what is really nice and what is really not. And because there's a lot of people that do this for a living, and not all of them, are able to do it at that level. And it's just because I think it's just finding those people to work with and work for, which we did a good job. I think we moved around a lot, trying to chase that, like, hey, where's the best thing in the United States right now? We are big on mentorship. We're big in having a learning environment. I think that it's really hard, like I just said, to find those learning environments. And I think that trying our best to create the best example of, internal promotion and making sure people are constantly learning. As an example, when we moved here with 6 employees from our previous job that were all, majority of them were apprentices and like people that were in an apprenticeship program that I was overseeing when I was there. And I think that trying to continue that and trying to keep that like that momentum rolling, where we continuously create that environment where people can like learn and be pushed into situations where they're a little bit uncomfortable and out of their comfort zone, and so that they're growing constantly. We just sent one of our sous chefs to his first ever ACF competition that he had ever been to, and it was a mystery box competition, which are a little bit on the tougher scale. And he placed bronze in his first go out of about 12 people. So it's, little moments like that where it's like, okay, well, it's working. Something's working. I'm just like every other decision that I make, it's just like try to take a really large swatch of things. I mean, I would try a bunch of stuff, right? Until you find that one thing that you really like. I know that in my heart of hearts, like I really like some of the automotive industry and stuff like that, and I also really like cooking, so that's what I decided to chase and go after. But once I went after it, I think that it's more important to try to find other people that are like-minded and that can push you in that right direction. I think that like the true north is for me based on people that are doing all the things that I also place importance on. So it's taking care of the people around them, making sure that the culture is evolving, right, and the food scene is evolving. And that doesn't mean just in the quality of food itself and what we're doing with food. It's more human beings and what we're doing and how we're using them. And I think that, there's a lot of things that we talk about as far as finite resources, and it's, fossil fuels and food and all these things, which yeah, they are, we have to take care of them. But the one that's super finite is people. And we saw after COVID that, there's a lot of people that realized that, oh man, I can have a certain amount more time to myself. And, and it kind of separated, people that were really passionate about it. And it was really It was really tough. And we saw a shortage of employees for a long time. And I think that those cultures that magnetize or have people gravitate to them are going to be the ones that they're learning. They're taking care of people. They're making sure people get away. They're making sure that you're having the freshest employee where, not just their work life is in harmony, but their home life has to also be in harmony to get the best product out of people. And we try our best to do that here. It's really important that, chefs with any amount of buying power or any, at all scales of establishment, try their best to source as sustainably as possible. We've had the privilege, like working in Charleston and North Carolina and definitely out in Colorado, but I think personally the Southeast is one of the most opulent little places to get produce and livestock that you could ever live in. So I think that we don't like to travel. I don't like to send out for too far for ingredients. And we have a lot of ingredients where we showcase that. But even smaller companies, my wife and I just took a pizza class in Buffalo where this guy was making natural biodynamic wine, but he was doing it right outside of the Finger Lakes in New York, and he was presenting wine that was like, well, you don't have to have all your wine shipped from Napa Valley or France or Italy. And it was like, oh, well, that's true. The less that things travel, just being a good steward of the earth as well.